dismiss the youth. All right. Come on, kids. Let's go have some fun. All right. Well, welcome to Unity of Music City, everyone, and thank you for being here today. Whether or not you realize it or not, your soul made a divine appointment to be here. And we are grateful for the opportunity to share those moments with you. So whether you are in this very room or in your living room, we're so happy that you're attending with us and bringing your energy to play with ours. Unity Music City is a 100% volunteer-led community. So all of your time that you give to us, all of your talents that you give to us, and all of your treasures that you give to us are much appreciated, and we could not survive without you. So that there in the blue vase is for your paper donations. We have a QR code if you want to donate by PayPal. All of that is so much appreciated here in your spiritual community that we are building a foundation for generations to come. So thank you so much, and I do believe we got a couple of announcements. Yeah. More than a couple.
We know these take dedication, right?
Yes.
I got this as my next little challenge, and I could leave it right here. And would it thrive? No. If I did not prune it, would it thrive? No. If I didn't take care and get the little care cards we pass out, and I didn't take good care, would it thrive? No. All of these together, sometimes we want to go it alone and try to do it all ourselves. I have guests that do that. No, I got this. Don't want any additional care. But we know, I think this reminds me of oneness that we have here, we talk about a lot. So coming together, working together, putting all things together, it's great. And also new discoveries. Our centering statement in a minute is going to talk about things that make us feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful centering statement that we'll look at here in just a second.
Hey, Julie.
So,
I think, don't the Japanese consider the care of a bonsai a form of meditation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Art, meditation, it's just such a phenomenal project and fulfilling project. So fulfillment and things that make us happy. So that's my part of the centering statement as well. And new discoveries, I think that's part of the centering statement coming up too, new discoveries. So this thought just kept hitting me. If what you did yesterday seems big, you haven't done anything today. And if you know, that's Lou Holtz, one of his famous quotes. So not that we can't celebrate what we did yesterday, but if we're focusing too much on that, where are we growing? So bonsai and growing together. And I love that we do that here at Unity. So it's good to see everyone. All right, so our announcements today, we've got a potluck meal today following the service and before the Leadership Council meeting. Everyone is welcome. Please bring a dish to share. There we go. Yeah, right. There are things around if you need to go grab something or pick up something real quick. So Full Moon Gathering is canceled tomorrow night. Enjoy that in your own space, in your own home. And looking forward to hopefully next month picking that up. So just letting you guys know that is canceled for tomorrow. Join Steph and Deborah for Move and Groove and Meditate Thursday, August 22nd from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. We will move and groove with dance fitness, gentle yoga, then relax with a guided group meditation and aromatherapy. Cost is $20 for adults and $15 for teens. Save Paw. Currently in desperate need of fostering homes for cats and kittens. Sorry,
it's the food thing. I had to pull an old one. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Food. We're collecting food.
Okay. There we go. Collecting food. And I'll just read it off here if that's all right. Yeah, just to make sure we're getting that audio. So supporting Safe Paw will begin collecting non-perishable food items to create meal boxes for those in need of some temporary support with meals. Think of items that can create meals: spaghetti noodles, pasta sauce, can of soup, box of rice, tuna salad, crackers, canned chicken, rice-a-roni, chili, cornbread, tuna helper. So all of these also can be found on the website and all the directions there. All right, bring your items in on Sunday services. That would be great. All right, all of these activity or meeting links and contact numbers can be found on the website, weekly happenings, Google Calendar, or you can always email the church.
Thank you, Julie. Well, it's time to sing again. Let's do our monthly mantra, the song that really speaks to who we are as a community. And for the month of August, we are celebrating the start of our third year at 826 Wren Road. It's so exciting to see all of the potential that's in front of us and to celebrate where we have come from. And that's what we're doing musically by kind of doing some throwback songs, songs that are traditional for Unity of Music City. Don't say that I said that to Judy Blackwelder, because she would be like, I'm not that old, you know. But we have been around for, over 25 years. So we have a really rich musical legacy that we can lean on, which is really such a cool thing to do. So we're going to do We Are All God's Children. And the main reason that I picked this is obviously because it's for the monthly mantra, we want to do something that speaks to us as a spiritual community. And we believe, one of our we believe statements is service to others is a manifestation of our love and our pathway to peace, and inclusion is our expression of spiritual welcome. And this song speaks to both of those. So let's see if we remember it from last week. Let's stand as we are able. Come
Good morning again. Let's begin this portion of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering thought is, my spiritual walk fascinates and fulfills me. Walking the spiritual path refers to the journey of personal growth, self-discovery, and connection to something greater than myself. It is a way of living that is guided by my spiritual beliefs, values, and practices, and it can take many forms. Over the years, I have grown so much from my spiritual practices. I have felt close to the divine as I have studied, prayed, and meditated. I have felt deepened in understanding, and I have learned and grown in confidence as I have discovered my own divinity. I continue to be fascinated and fulfilled as I walk this path to spiritual discovery, and I continue to see the divine in situations where I least expect it. I realize there will always be more to learn, more ways to grow, and more ways to know God and myself. And the more I know, the more I desire to know. My interest in and love for the divine is without limit. My fascination with this spiritual walk will continue to lead me along my path of discovery and devotion for as long as I live. And I am grateful for the support of my spiritual community as I deepen in my relationship with the universal presence, which is alive in me. So if you'll please repeat these affirming statements after me. My spiritual walk fascinates and fulfills me. My spiritual walk fascinates and fulfills me. I am on a journey of personal growth, self-discovery, and connection to something greater than myself. I am on a journey of personal growth, self-discovery, and something greater than myself. I am deepening my relationship with the universal presence, which is alive in me. I am deepening my relationship with the universal presence, which is alive in me. And so it is.
Good morning, everyone. You know, one of the songs we've sung this morning is one of my favorites. It really is. They all are. When you feel sad, lost and alone, take it to God in prayer, right? Take it to God in prayer. So I invite you in this portion of the service, which is normally meditative, to enter into a space of prayer with me. I invite you to get comfortable in your chair. Lower your shoulders. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Do whatever you need to do to remove whatever obstacle your body tries to throw up. Whether entering into prayer or entering into meditation, it's the same preparation of the space, the inner space. Remove from that inner space every concern, every worry, every obsessive thought. For just a moment, every attachment. Empty yourself out. so that nothing is in that inner space but the divine and you, the purest version of you. And for just a moment, in that inner space, I invite you to silently tell God anything you need to tell God. Ask God anything you need to ask God. Share whatever pain you carry. Any sadness, any sense of being lost and alone. In this space, we cannot pretend that everything's okay if it doesn't feel okay. There's no posturing with God. There's honesty, and there's openness, and there's vulnerability, and there's love. Endless, infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent love. Whatever it is, I invite you in this space to take it to God in prayer, in the silence, in the stillness. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, that you are always right here. Thank you for never moving away, for living in the heart of me. Thank you that there is never a time when I am separate from your mercy, separate from your grace. There is never a time when I cannot call on you, when I can't turn everything over to you. Thank you for reminding me again and again that I live in you and you live in me. So it is.
I am in God.
morning. Do you feel a little bit of fall in the air? Just a little bit, just a touch of fall? I want to, absolutely. I'm telling you what, I'm ready. I'm ready, yes, sir. Lowe's has their Halloween decorations out. Yes, yes. I think if you go to Big Lots, you can see Christmas decorations. Probably, probably. It's Hobby Lobby, Hobby Lobby, Christmas year-round. All right, so it's that time of year. I love this time of year, partly because in my day job, it's the time of year when I'm getting ready to gear up again, right? Tomorrow, one of the reasons why we're not having a full moon gathering tomorrow night is I have meetings from 8 a.m. till 5:30 tomorrow. So it's our first big day of reporting back. We're going to get excited, get pumped up, get ready for students to come back. We get to start all over again. The greatest thing about working in higher education is every 15 weeks I get a clean slate. Start all over again. I start every semester like this. This is going to be the best semester ever. About 5 weeks in, I'm saying, maybe I can salvage this semester. Last week of the semester, I'm saying, next semester is going to be the best semester ever. I've figured it all out. So today, because I am getting back in academic brain, there's going to be a little bit of that today. It's going to be a little bit, I'm going to go a little history on you, but just relax. But I'm also going to blend that with, of course, the spiritual side, because it's all the same. It's all spiritual. Everything we do is spiritual, right? The topic of today's talk is love revolution. So a revolution, we know about revolutions, especially if we live in the United States of these American states, by God. We know about revolutions. And a revolution, by definition, is a forcible overthrow of a government or a system or a social order in favor of a new one, an improved one, a new system, a new way of doing things. So when we talk about a love revolution, we recognize that anything that is not love ain't working. And to have a new system, we have to act from love. It's what Jesus demonstrated in his life. It's why he turned the world upside down. It's why no matter where you go in the world today, if you're in Buddhist country or Hindu country, you can talk about Jesus to just about anybody, anywhere, because everybody recognizes that what he stood for is love. And then, of course, what happened over the years, these are not new ideas. Love revolution is not a new idea. I didn't come up with that. I didn't invent it. I haven't patented it, right? Over the years, people get a hold of that, and they turn it into a religion. And they begin to use it for power and prestige and religious manipulation. And then religious ideology becomes a conduit for political power, and it becomes weaponized. We know about that. We see that happening still in our world today. Last week, I had mentioned to you, well, what about the world is so messed up? And I said, the world is the world. The world is the world, right? It's happening the way the world has always happened. But it's conducive to this time. It's fitting with this time that we talk about a love revolution because, of course, this is the time that we're in. It's the political season. Right? This is the time when it behooves us, that's the word I was looking for, it behooves us to be thinking about a love revolution. So the donkey and the elephant, these, some of you may know, they were a creation of Thomas Nast. He was a political cartoonist in the 1870s. They predate that. He was picking up on old ideas. The donkey actually comes from the era of Andrew Jackson. Right? Andrew Jackson was a Democrat. Most Democrats today are not Jacksonian Democrats, so that's why it gets a little confusing. And the elephant comes from the era of Abraham Lincoln, right? But then it was Thomas Nast who made them the figures for this political, the two-party system that we have. The separation of church and state was built into our original ideas. Right? Even though the separation of church and state is not in our legal documents, our Constitution, or our Declaration of Independence, it was so assumed that Thomas Jefferson referred to it in a letter as the separation of church and state. He was like, this is what is written, right? Embedded in who we are. But consider how much religious ideology is still at the political clashes that we have today. We haven't ever completely separated it. And I've heard people say that people are more divided today than ever. I've said it myself. Have you ever heard that? We're more divided today than ever. I have good news for you. That is not true. The good news is we're not really, really bad at this compared to other people. We're pretty normal and maybe even a little better. So let's go down a little academic road. Hold on, Nikki, hang in there with me for just a moment while we go down a little academic road. I want to tell you the story of 4 dead white guys, okay? The story of 4 dead white guys to show you that maybe we're not as bad off as we think we are. The first dead white guy is this guy. This is Pope Leo X, right? Pope Leo X was not born Pope Leo X. His mother did not look at him and say, I think I'll name him Pope Leo X, right? He was born Giovanni de Medici. Now, if you know anything about history, you know about the Medicis, right? The Medicis were pretty much single-handedly funded the Italian Renaissance. All the Italian artists, Michelangelo, I mean, all the big, they were a family in Florence, Italy. They got wealthy in banking. They were very, very connected. He was like the grandson of the first big Medici. And he was the second son in his family, so the first son, of course, would always take over the family business. The second son was given to God, devoted to God. We're going to let him be part, because, of course, if you have one son in business, one son in religion, you got the world covered. You're in charge, right? To show you that money meant something in the old church, he was made an archbishop at the age of 8. He was made a cardinal at the age of 13. And he was voted pope, elected pope, at the age of 37. And he's known to have said, since God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it. Right? He is the pope, by the way, who is responsible for creating the Vatican, St. Peter's Basilica, all of that. This is when this is being built. He wanted to build a city of sanctified marble, but that takes a lot of money. And the Medicis didn't become the Medicis because they always gave money away. They also like to bring money in. And so he came up with 2 ideas. There's 2 things that they did to collect money to build this great St. Peter's Basilica back in the day. One was they got into the phony relics racket, right? So the phony relics racket, still to this day, and by the way, those of you who are raised in Catholicism, don't worry, I'm going to give the Protestants hell in just a moment too, all right? So still to this day, relics are meaningful in the Catholic Church. I mean, like think of the Shroud of Turin, right? The story that this is the very shroud that Jesus was wrapped in. Oh, that's important. There were different churches and different bishops and different people around who claimed to have different relics. These were actual things that churches of that era claimed to have. One church had acquired, they had a twig from the burning bush. I think Julie has it now. I'm not sure. One had a thumb from the grandmother of Jesus. One had one of St. Jerome's teeth. One had a piece of straw from the manger at Bethlehem. Come see this piece of straw. One even had mother's milk from the Virgin Mary, right? So, of course, pilgrims, people would come from far and wide just to be in the presence of these holy relics because, of course, that energy could maybe have a miracle. Maybe I could have a miracle. But you had to pay to see them. You had to pay to be in their presence, right? You could be in that presence of that great spiritual power for a price. The second way that they raised money for St. Peter's Basilica and the Vatican is the selling of indulgences. So you could purchase a certificate issued by the Pope, signed by a bishop, that was a so-called passport to paradise. It'd be made out in the name of the buyer. It would knock years off of your time in purgatory, depending on how much you gave, of course. Because somewhere along the line, the church had come up with the idea of purgatory, which is not in the Bible anywhere. And it had come up with the idea that purgatory, you could spend up to 9,000 years in purgatory. So how many thousands of years would you like to knock off? That's how much it would cost. Or it could keep you out of hell altogether. You could also purchase an indulgence for a deceased relative. You could even purchase indulgences for future sins. If you were wealthy enough, you could go ahead at a young age, purchase your indulgence for life, and do whatever the heck you wanted to for the rest of your life. Which sounds like, I don't know, a Baptist. No, I'm not sure. I mean, once saved, always saved, right? So anyway. It wasn't just the rich people who could participate, however. Poor people could participate because at different cathedrals and churches, they would have these little coin boxes set up where poor people could at least buy a few pennies worth of a relief from torture in the afterlife, right? And to encourage this industry, the Pope Leo X, he allowed clerics to keep half of what they collected and send it the rest to Rome. This is a feudal system, right? This is like the peerage in the earl of the county shire or whatever it is. This is how some bishops and cardinals during this time managed to buy, they purchased big palaces. They lived in incredible wealth off the pennies of the poor. Televangelists aren't new. They didn't just come around lately. So they were doing this until a young German monk, very well educated, intimately familiar with the entire Latin Bible, able to translate the original Greek into his native German. He saw what was happening. He could find nothing in the Bible to support the selling of indulgences or this type of religious corruption. And so his name was Martin Luther. Martin Luther comes along and he becomes the most important person in the Protestant Reformation. In 1517, he put his 95 Theses on the door of the church at Wittenberg. We like to say that he nailed them to the door. He didn't really nail them to the door, but it makes a great story, right? He nailed them to the door at the church at Wittenberg. And the formal title of this document was Disputation on the Power and Efficacy of Indulgences. That's precisely what started the Protestant Reformation, was reacting to this kind of financial corruption. He wasn't intending to start a major branch off the trunk of Catholicism, but that's kind of what ended up happening. He was wanting to stay within the church. He asked in print, why does the Pope build the Basilica of St. Peter with the money of poor believers? His questions might have gone no further. He might have put these on the door of the church and it just stopped right there. But it just so happens that his life followed right on the heels of a man named Johann Gutenberg, right? And Gutenberg had already printed his Bible. This is a vital piece because now Martin Luther's ideas were getting spread all over the place. In Luther's lifetime, a third of all books written in German were written by him. A third of all books were written by Martin Luther. The church went ballistic. Pope Leo X excommunicated him. We can't be having this. And because the church had such power, Emperor Charles also put a bounty out on his head. He was going to be on trial. He was the worst of the heretics. It was almost certain he was going to face execution. So he fled. He went underground, right? He spent a lot of his time writing from the underground, continuing to influence religious thought. One of the questions he had was about celibacy, so he got married and had children, right? And so within 9 years of his initial posting of those things on the door at Wittenberg, over 300 smaller German states, remember Germany back then was not a big nation, it was all these little bitty states, 300 of them had converted to Lutheranism. And soon, Denmark adopted the faith as the state religion. And then Norway. Isn't that wonderful? He's a hero. He's a hero. But maybe not. Is he really the good guy we think he is? When peasants were inspired by his ideas and began revolting, Luther cheered on the killing of those peasants. He said, let whoever can stab, strike, strangle. If you die doing it, good for you. 80,000 people were killed. And if that's not enough, Luther was a raging anti-Semite. Raging. He called Jews miserable, blind, and senseless people. He wrote that they were nothing but thieves and robbers and that they drank the blood of Christians. He called them the vilest whores and rogues under the sun. Most of this is contained in a work he wrote called On the Jews and Their Lies. So Lutheranism, you're getting your history for the year. Lutheranism was not the basis of Nazism. But there were many, many times when it was convenient for Hitler and his followers to pull out a Martin Luther quote. And at Nuremberg in 1946, when there was the trial for war crimes, one of the leading ideologues said that Martin Luther should be the one on trial. Well, thank goodness he was not the only figure of the Reformation. We have John Calvin to come along and save us, right? Thank God he came along. Calvin is also a reformer because the church was too liberal and too relaxed. And he was on the run too. I know, right? He was on the run too because you don't say anything against the Catholic Church, you could be killed. I mean, this is the day of inquisitions, right? And so he goes off to Geneva, Switzerland, becomes the de facto leader of the entire city, and he had religious police and spies that would go from house to house to make sure that the proper dishes were set serving the proper food. He had them make sure and check that clothes were only cut from certain colors of cloth because it was against the rules for you to have fancy colored clothes. He made sure there's no dancing, no card playing. It sounds like growing up in the Nazarene church, quite frankly, in the 1960s. No dancing, no card playing, no naming your children after non-biblical figures, right? Fornication could result in execution. All the inhabitants of Geneva, right, execution, right? All the inhabitants of, by the way, this was called the City of Refuge. Come and seek refuge here. All inhabitants had to denounce the Catholic Church. They had to attend sermons, sometimes up to 17 per week, right? Everything was strictly regulated. If you laughed at one of John Calvin's sermons, you could be put in jail or whipped, right? I'm trying to get y'all to laugh. If you question him in print, you could be tortured for a month. Calvinism, at its heart, is the idea of predestination. And it was the central tenet of the Puritans. The Puritans were Calvinists, right? And they who formed this country and got us started, right? We already had the Crusades that had been happening. There's a point to what I'm telling you all here. I'm getting to it. We already had the Crusades that had been happening starting back in the 11th century, Christians and Muslims killing each other right and left. Now it was Christian on Christian. It was the French Huguenots and the Catholic. It was the Protestants and the Catholics. There were actually militaristic religious orders, right? The Knights Templar, those were real dudes who killed in the name of Jesus. With the Reformation, what we see is Christian on Christian warfare. Violence, torture, execution were the sentences passed down. Right? And so there's one more guy I want to tell you about. It's this guy, Michael Servetus. He was a Spanish physician, a religious philosopher. He fled the Spanish Inquisition. He wanted to find refuge in John Calvin's Geneva. He said, we're both questioning the church. Surely we'll get along. We'll get along. We'll be just fine. We will get along. And so he goes off to Geneva. Servetus had questions on the Trinity. The Trinity was not, you really can't find the theology of the Trinity in the Bible. That was created at the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century, right? But so he had questions about this, and he had written a pamphlet called On the Errors of the Trinity, and he had to flee France because the French bishops had threatened to put his head on a pike, right? This is Christian love we see happening here. When he gets to Geneva, Calvin has him arrested. He doesn't know this. He thinks he and Calvin are going to get along great. But unbeknownst to Servetus, Calvin has already written to a friend and said, if he comes here, if my authority's worth anything, I'll never allow him to depart alive. So he's put on trial. It's a sham. He's denied a lawyer. He's held for months in this dark, rat-infested cell. And then he makes his case eloquently. It doesn't matter. And so he ends up, on October 27th, 1553, being dragged from his cell, bound to a pole. Under his feet is a pile of twigs, branches and leaves. He's covered in sulfur. One of his books is tied to him. Dry kindling is tied to him. The fire is lit. It takes him more than 30 minutes to pass. He had the singular distinction of escaping the Catholic Inquisition in order to be burned alive by the Protestants for daring to question. Why am I telling you this story of these 4 men woven together? Maybe we're not as horrible as we think we are. maybe, just maybe, we have the seeds of compromise and compassion and care closer to the surface of our society than we think we do. It looks divided, but let me tell you something. We don't even know division compared to what humanity has done to each other over the years. And maybe it's time to stop affirming how divided we are and emphasizing how connected we are. Even as different as we seem to be, we are much more alike than would have been evidenced in the past. How bound together our shared fortunes are. We really are evolving, even when it feels like we're moving backwards. We're so far beyond. I mentioned last week that we were going to be looking at Valerie Kaur's See No Stranger again, because in anticipation of her new book, Sage Warrior, look at the headline up there, just the first 3 words, Wake to Oneness. I can't wait until we start that book. It comes out September 10th. But over 2 years ago, we looked at this, and I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks, revisit some of these ideas again. By the way, when Ryan mentioned that we're starting our 3rd year today, 2 years ago today, we closed on this building. 2 years ago today. I remember it because it's my father's birthday, so I remember. So we looked at this. We're going to look at it a little bit more, and one of the things that is central to this is the idea of this revolutionary love compass, because at the heart of it is this kind of threefold love that we have to engage in: the love of others, the love of opponents, because others and opponents are 2 different things, aren't they? Sometimes we don't like to talk about opponents, but they exist. There are people that have different ideas that clash with ours. We are opponents in that particular arena. And then how to love ourselves, right? How to love ourselves. And this idea of joy as being the gift of that. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin said, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. That's why we nurture joy. It's the infallible sign of the presence of God. How do we know God is there? Is joy present? So I want to read, let me get to the right page here. I want to read a little bit from this to show you why I think it's important and something that we need to revisit. Listen to this. Some days are so deadly, I can taste the ash in my mouth. Does the political scenario ever feel like that? Like it just feels toxic, corrupt. Other days, I see glimpses of the nation, the world that is wanting to be born. A society awakened to the truth of our interdependence. I choose to labor for that world. Sound government is necessary, but not sufficient to take us across the threshold. We can say it's all the government's fault. We got to vote. That's only one piece of it. We need a shift in consciousness and culture, a revolution of the heart, a new way of being and seeing that leaves no one outside our circle of care, a love without limit, revolutionary love. Revolutionary love is the call of our times. Revolutionary love is system-changing love. We're not inventing it. We're in the middle of it. We're a part of it. We're another link on the chain of it. But we are doing it, as evidenced by how far we've come in the last 500 years. As evidenced by the fact that we can question and we can speak openly and we can follow our own religious path. Overthrowing a broken social order is the type of love revolution that I'm talking about here. I want to follow on here and read you just a little bit more. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. Think about labor in terms of delivering a child. A choice we make over and over again. I'm going to emphasize that. A choice we make over and over again. Love as labor can be taught, modeled, and practiced. And this labor engages all of our emotions. Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the price of love. We know that, don't we? We've felt that. Anger protects that which is loved. And when we think we've reached our limit, Wonder is the act that returns us to love. Curiosity, wonder, facing people who are different from us with curiosity rather than certainty, right? We have to love all those folks. Loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All three practices together make love revolutionary, and revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. Can only be practiced in community. It's why we come together and we encourage each other, is because it's nice to think we can go sit out on our deck and be alone, and that's fine. But it is in community that we practice the kind of life-changing, world-changing, system-changing love that turns the world on its ear, right? Love is a choice we make over and over again. We may look at the people in the past and say, have you ever said this about someone from the past? Well, they were a victim of their time, right? They were a victim of their time. I've said that before. It's a poor excuse. It's a poor excuse. I've heard people in the South, especially, old folks who say, well, my parents, you know, I mean, they were a little racist, but they were a victim of their time. BS. They had a choice. They were also during a time of abolitionists and civil rights fighters, things of that nature. I don't buy it. Sorry, that's where I don't give it to myself. I don't give it to, right? We have a choice. We have the choice to love, and so did they. And the reason why I know that is because of one more man. I'm going to tell you about a fifth man. Bartolomé de las Casas. He came as one of the early Spanish settlers of America, and he initially participated in the colonial economy. He had slaves. But he saw the light. He saw the horrible atrocities that were being carried out in the name of colonialism, and so he gave up all of what he had inherited over there. He became a Dominican friar. He was ultimately named the protector of the Indians. He chose love, even in that time, while all those other folks are doing what they're doing. He chose love. Now, it took him a little time. We don't become perfect overnight. His first answer to ending Indian slavery was that they replaced the Indians with Africans. In time, he recanted that and said, no, I was wrong. I was wrong, right? He chose love eventually, and he spent 50 years of his life then actively fighting slavery and the colonial abuse of indigenous people. He bore witness to the abuse, and he left one of the most complete accounts of that time that we have and what really, really happened. That's what revolutionary love can do. We can show up as people like this, even in times when it feels like everything is going against us. We can show up as people of love. He advocated a revolution of love, an overthrow of a social order. Oh my gosh, we can like each other. We can actually like, how much easier should it be for us? It should be to love each other, to show up and choose love again and again and again. I'm actually going to tell you about two more guys. They're not white guys though, but you know, they would be painted as white in the Nazarene church. They're these guys right here. So actually that's what, seven guys I'm telling you about today. Gosh, it's a lot of history. There's a lot of guys, That's the problem. No, yeah, well, never mind. If we just get Mary Magdalene in here, she'd clean this whole mess up right now. From the Message, Jesus answered by telling a story. There was once a man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and on the way he was attacked by robbers. They took his clothes, they beat him up, they went off leaving him half dead. Luckily, a priest was on his way. He was on his way down the same road, but when he saw the man, he angled across to the other side. Then a Levite religious man showed up. He also avoided the injured man. Notice that Jesus tells the story with two religious people bypassing, not helping. If anybody wanted to overthrow the system as it was and replace it with a revolution of love, it was Jesus. Right? And then he says, a Samaritan traveling the road came on him. That's kind of like saying a Muslim traveling the road came on him. A Republican traveling the road came on him, right? A Democrat, whatever. Whatever the exact polar ideological opposite would be of that man. That person came along, right? A Samaritan traveling the road came on him. When he saw the man's condition, his heart went out to him. He gave him first aid, disinfecting and bandaging his wounds. That would have been enough. That's enough, right? I mean, sometimes when we come across something like, my heart goes out to them. My heart goes out to them. But maybe that's it. Okay, maybe I can help bandage them, but that's it. That's where I'm stopping. But then he lifted him onto his donkey. He led him to an inn. He made him comfortable. In the morning, he spent the night there with him. In the morning, he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take good care of him. If it costs any more, put it on my bill, and I'll pay you when I come back through." Right? That is boundless, limitless compassion. That is, I'm going to see you all the way through to the end compassion. It's not just, let me show up and care a little bit. Let me give you no, let me carry you along and give you compassion in every step of the way. Last week we talked about love as the essential. And I asked a question near the end that I want to share with you again today and bring it up with you again today. Does this help me love better? Does this help me love better? This past week, I think it was this week, in Gallatin, there was a story, you might have seen this on the news, or if you paid attention to Gallatin news. There was a story about a young man who was breaking into cars in an apartment building, right? And he shouldn't do that, right? But we don't know why people do what they do. He was breaking into cars in an apartment building. And a man who lived at the apartment saw him and shot him, killed him. Shot him and killed him. When I went to the story on the Gallatin News homepage, or maybe it was one of the Nashville papers, when I went to the story, I went down. Normally I save myself from the comments underneath because they're just horrendous. But I went down to the comments underneath, and it was just one after another, after another, after another of, he got what he deserved. Well, I guess he found out, didn't he? Right, just one after another, it broke my heart. It literally broke my heart. I mean, I just couldn't. I finally got on there and I said, where is our compassion? This is a young person who needed guidance. Right? He did not deserve to die. He did not deserve to die. This is the kind of society that we have, where we have an opportunity for a love revolution. Normally, I don't say anything on stuff like that. But this week I was like, if I don't say something right now about this, then I'm not the Good Samaritan in this at all. I'm not doing what I can do, the very little bit that I can do. And so I said something. My heart has been warmed by the number of people who have liked the comment, said something afterwards, thank you for saying this, right? There are people out there who are ready for a love revolution. There are people out there who will be infected by your own enthusiasm for love, your own enthusiasm for kindness. And they'll pick up on it, and they'll say, it's okay, it must be okay. It must be okay to act that way. It must be okay to be loving. I've seen other people do it. It must be okay to be kind. I've seen other people do it. Right? So regarding everything in life, does this help me love better? That's what we're all about here. My political ideas, do they help me love better? The shows I choose to watch on TV, my spiritual practice, the time I spend scrolling on social media, sometimes they do. I'm not here passing judgment on them. I'm not trying to imply with my question that these things don't help you, so become a monk and sit in the corner and don't do anything but think on high thoughts. No, look for the way every single thing in your life helps you love better. Revolutionary love at its heart is continually asking ourselves this question. Continually asking, is this helping me love better? And if it's not, let me step back. Let me reevaluate. Let me think again how I'm going to show up here. Next week, we're going to dive deeper into loving others as we follow the path of revolutionary love. And this is a path that Jesus trod before us. It's a path that Bartolome de las Casas eventually got on. It's a path that so many did in their own kind of way. And we can learn to identify those who are on the path when we hear about their lives or read their words and recognize that they help us love better. Right? Whatever it is in their life helps us love better, because at the end of the day, this is everything. It's why we're here. It's what we strive for. It's what we're evolving toward. It's what we hope to inspire in others. Otherwise, let's close the door. Let's lock it. Let's put up a for sale sign. Because if we don't come here in community and learn to love better, then we're doing something wrong. Namaste.
So glad we are singing We Are All God's Children before the lesson this month, right? Because I don't know, that's the perfect song to sing before then, and I hope it gets stuck in your head for the rest of the month. I really do. All right, well, let's see. What should we talk about now? What do we always talk about now? Let's talk about gratitude. So grateful for the week that was. I don't know about you, but it seemed like the week was about 3 days long. There was just a bunch of stuff happening, but a bunch of things were accomplished. We have some exciting new things to talk about at our leadership meeting today. So if you want to stick around for that, stick around for the potluck, which I'm grateful for also, and some cool stuff during the leadership council meeting. So everybody's welcome to attend everything here. We believe in transparency. There's certain things that if they're personal in nature, that we might not be able to talk about by name, but we can certainly talk about them by the ideas that they bring out in us. So what are you grateful for this week? Anything happened? That storm last night, man, there was some wind that happened last night. We had some pots, flowered pots that blew over last night, but we are happy for the rain, right? What else are we grateful for today? It is a beautiful time of year, isn't it? Everything just grows, right? Yes, Elsie. Yes. Yeah, it's like it's how things when they pass in nature, they go back into the earth and they nurture the earth. Yeah, I believe that. Well, yes, Miss Julie. Are you full time? That's right. So I'm going to say you're thankful for being at the right place at the right time. All in alignment. That's right. It's all good, certainly. That's right. What else? Anybody? Anything else? Mm-hmm. That's right. Grateful for this community and the support that you receive here. Yeah, absolutely. That's keeps me coming back. Yes. That's right. So you're grateful for being around like-minded people. Yes, right. That's right. Well, we're open. We're tolerant and like-minded people. That's right. Anybody, anything else? Oh, we love Wilder. She's getting so big. I was looking at her over there. I was like, you're getting so big. Oh, that's all right. Well, let's sing, okay? Let's sing Infinite Abundance. I live in the midst of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. I live in the midst of infinite abundance. I give freely and fearlessly to life. I live in the midst of infinite abundance, and life gives back to me. And life gives back to me. All right, I'm going to remind everybody to stay for the potluck. And I know Frank made something really incredible. It's in the fridge. And Leadership Council, everybody is welcome to listen in on that. Check the What's Happening newsletter for all of the events coming up. And let's stand up and say the prayer for protection together as we prepare to leave. Oh, let me tell you right now, we don't have a percussionist, so I'm going to ask you to help us start the next song. All right, so here we go. Prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. There you go. Here we go. We are one with God and one with each other. Everyone we meet is our sister and brother. You be you, and I'll be me. All members of one family live in harmony. Harmony. We are a part. All that we see live in harmony. Harmony. We can be different and still live in harmony. We are one with God and one with each other. Everyone we meet is our sister and brother. You and I'll be me. We're all members of one family. Live in harmony. Harmony. We can be part of all that we see. Live in harmony. Harmony. We can be different and still live in harmony. We can be different and still live in harmony. We can be different and still live in harmony. Thank you for being here, everyone. We love you and have you a great week. See you next Sunday.